So I want to separate this by position and talk about all the sleepers I have for you. So let's talk about quarterbacks first. And for quarterbacks, I got Jameis Winston as my prime sleeper for fantasy football this year. His ADP is 156th, which means this guy is being drafted in like rounds 13, 14, even lower. In 2019, he averaged 19 points a game as a quarterback while throwing 30 interceptions. If Peyton can reduce those errors in any way, that point potential goes up significantly. Significantly, even if he does not score as many touchdowns. You can get this person well in the bottom of your draft. He will have QB1 potential for you. It's a nice stash quarterback too that you don't have to spend a middle round pick on to make sure that you aren't screwed on a bye week or by injury. The second person I want to talk about is Tua. And Tua has an ADP of 152. Means he's drafted around the same area as Jameis Winston is. And I think, look, he was horrid last year. Horrid. I understand. But I think this is a year where he's primed for a significant breakout. New offensive coordinator, new coaches around him to maximize his offensive potential and capability. They highly upgraded the weapons they have on the outside, adding Will Fuller, adding Jalen Waddle in the draft. He's going to have significantly better targets to throw to, as well as that offensive line he was behind is going to be all a little bit older, have more consistency with each other and reps with each other, and should be better going into this next year. I think that this is a good QB2 upside. The upside is not as good as Jameis's, but it's something that I think you should definitely keep an eye out for. Let's go to running backs. And running backs are interesting to me. So first one is just like Sony Michel post this trade as someone that I think definitely should be getting drafted higher than he was before. His carries will go up per game with the Rams because there's just no one else really besides Darrell Henderson that can challenge him for him. He is the most talented running back in that room now, and that's going to start to shine as the season goes on, and I think he is going to be definitely a grower with your team. The second one for me is Mordrey Stevenson from the New England Patriots. Now, this one, look, his ADP is also in the 150s. You can see a trend going on here. And in particular, I am excited to see what he can do now that New England's running back room is a little bit less clogged with Sony Michel leaving. He's going to get more carries because of that. A lot of the other running backs in New England are particularly going to be used for pass catching and blocking, but I think he's going to get those power carries where he is told to get those yards, churn and move the sticks, and he can break them off. He has played fantastic in preseason and has shown a lot of promise. And I understand a lot of people don't tell you to bet bake on preseason, but one thing that we know about Bill Belichick is he actually plays starters and players that matter in preseason a lot because he believes those reps are really important, and that film for his team making decisions is really important. Let's just hope this is not another Jonas Gray situation for all of my fantasy heads that are familiar with him going absolutely bonkers and scoring like 60 or 70 points depending on the league and then being cut the next week. My next one for you is James Robinson. His ADP is at 37.5, so this is definitely a much higher pick than a lot of the other sleepers I will give you. But with the Travis Etienne injury, I think this guy is primed for another breakout season. He was running back 7 last year, and that's a third-round ADP for a top 7 running back in the league from last year, nearly 4th round if you're in a 10-man league. And I think that he's going to have a similar workload than he did last year. They're going to be significantly in more games than they were last year with Trevor Lawrence, which means they're not going to have to abandon the run as early as they had to in other years. And people are going to respect the pass more with Trevor Lawrence there. He's outperformed guys like Josh Jacobs, Kareem Hunt, Ezekiel Elliott, and Nick Chubb last year. People are still asleep on James Robinson, former Illinois State Go Redbirds alum. Now let's get into wide receivers. My biggest wide receiver sleeper for this season is Marquez Callaway. ADP of 135. That is late round pick potential. And the one reason why you got to love this guy is target share. Target share. He has shown a lot of flashes in the preseason. They will have no Michael Thomas for the foreseeable future. They let Emmanuel Sanders go to the Bills. And this guy has wide receiver one potential and target share. With this ADP, we're talking 12th round, 11th round. That's nuts. That is nuts. You can't even really name any of the other receivers on the New Orleans Saints, but somebody's going to have to catch those balls. One of their wide receiver twos is Ty Montgomery, who we thought was a running back in all his other stops, but is now playing receiver. So that should show you how shallow this receiver room is and how much work Marquez Callaway is going to get this season. My next one for you is Darnell Mooney. He had 98 targets last year, 631 yards, and 4 touchdowns in his rookie season. He has an ADP of 122 right now. That's big play potential. He has the ability to catch 3 passes and ruin another team's week. This guy is going to take a step going into his sophomore season for sure. The combination of Andy Dalton and or Justin Fields at quarterback for this entire year basically should mean that the offense is going to be significantly more prolific than it was last year and give him those big play shots for him to put points on the board and possibly steal you a couple games here and there. My third guy is Jacoby Myers. And this is a high floor pick, in my opinion. Myers saw the most work in a terrible New England Patriots passing offense last year. He had 59 catches, 729 yards. He had 26% of the overall targets on the team. That was 7th among wide receivers in the league, period, last year. ADP of 155. Another guy really far down that you are able to pick up, and he is definitely going to be able to slide in on a bye week, slide in a flex spot, and give you a pretty good floor. It's clear that if you think Cam is starting, he is Cam's favorite target on the Patriots, clearly from last year and going into this year. And I think he is going to replicate that production going forward. The last thing I want you to look into is, and this is going to be hard for me to give you all this one, but Lions wide receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Brashad Perriman are the two that I think you should look at. Brashad's ADP is 255, so he's probably just a waiver wire watch if we're being honest. But Amon is getting picked up in the 164 range. So in deeper leagues, bigger leagues, these are two guys that you can definitely stash and have. A lot of people will be saying, well, maybe Tyrell Williams is the right choice there because he has had the most productive season out of all of them. I don't see it. The real reason why you're looking at Lions receivers is because somebody has to catch passes. Jared Goff is not an absolute scrub. He's going to put points up on the board. Who is catching those balls? It's going to be one of these guys. Money for a lot of people is an Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he is a rookie. We don't know how fast he's going to develop and adjust to the game, but it is nice that he's gotten a full training camp, unlike rookies from last year. Brashad Perriman has shown that potential in multiple other areas, has been able to put up good fantasy points in stretches, but has never been able to be consistent. So definitely has a high risk when you lock him into a lineup. Now, next, I want to get into the tight ends. The tight ends, for me, they're very interesting. The reason why the tight ends are interesting for me, because if you're not getting a top 3, top 4 tight end, I think that you are much, much better off waiting until the later rounds to pick up your tight end instead of in the middle rounds, which I feel gives you negative value. So if you aren't getting a Travis Kelce, a Darren Waller, a Mark Andrews type, wait for a sleeper. The intermediate guys have way too much bust potential for that draft position when it comes to a standpoint of a tight end position in which most of the scoring for these guys are scrunched up together and then a couple guys break out ridiculously. So I'm talking about like the Gronks, the Kyle Pitts, the TJ Hawkinsons. I'm saying definitely stay away from in those mid-early rounds, like round 3, round 4, round 5 even. So here's my first sleeper for you all. Logan Thomas, ADP of 83. He was a top 7 tight end last year. Better than Gronk, better than Jonnu Smith, better than Jimmy Graham, better than Noah Fant, better than Dallas Goedert. People are drafting a lot of those players before they are drafting Logan Thomas. He had 72 catches, 670 yards, and 6 touchdowns last year. People are sleeping on the Washington football team's offense and their willingness to sling the ball, adding Ryan Fitzpatrick to this team. This is huge growth potential. This last year was the first year that Logan Thomas saw anywhere near that type of target share in an offense before, and he turned that into 4 times his average production. People will tell you this is a regression candidate. I am saying this is a progression candidate. Next is Tyler Higby. And for Tyler Higby, I have him at an ADP of 134. That's projected to be around tight end 15. But if you think about it, he has lost a lot of his target competition. Gerald Everett has moved on. This is a high-powered offense, and we know McVay wants to push the ball, move it around, loves using his tight ends, and should theoretically have a better quarterback under center with Matt Stafford that should allow Tyler Higby to eat at 134, his potential to give you 10-plus points, especially in PPR, consistently will be huge, especially coming from the tight end spot. My last guy is Noah Fant. ADP of 120. I think he will actually largely benefit from having Teddy Bridgewater, who we know will play it safe, take the high percentage throws, usually to the easier routes such as the tight ends. In a PPR league, he might actually end up eating significantly playing with a guy like Teddy Bridgewater instead of a guy who's trying to make the play happen like Drew Locke. Last year, he had 62 catches, 673 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I expect his red zone usage to also go up this season, and he is someone that I think you should be definitely on the lookout for.